If I had a problem with people and I really didn't like people and people were just annoying to me and I considered them like a virus or a bug or something, I would probably start to create ways to limit my either interaction with them or their presence around me. Now, say I was rich and influential, and people just weren't taking me seriously enough to the point where they were starting to, I don't know, fight my thought process. The next best step would be to try and eliminate those people from my world. Walk in the back door is Mr. FEMA. Come on in, Mr. FEMA. We need you to talk to these people real quick. What we have in place here is a method to protect you from the elements and want to protect you from viruses and illnesses. So, in order to do that, we need to have you comply with a couple of things, if you don't mind. Here, put this into your body if you don't mind. Well, what's that? Don't worry about it. It's to protect you. Oh, we have a storm coming. Everyone to that location. What was it? Just go to the location. You'll find. Oh, we just had a natural disaster. Everyone stay where the natural disaster is. Oh, you guys have illnesses all of a sudden. Hang tight. We'll be right with you. And in the words of SpongeBob, 5 days later, everyone did. Now, FEMA wouldn't do that, though. They would never be involved in something like that, except for in Katrina and in Michigan and in Maui and California. Weird. They were always a part of that, and at every turn, multiple deaths. So, what am I saying about FEMA? They're not nice people, and they're not there to protect you. FEMA is what I would call the gangster hand of Agenda 21. Not all thugs move like bust in your door. Some of them come at night, they pick your lock, and they creep through your house. And then they will put a pillow over you, end you, and act like nothing happened. Not all thugs make a noise. FEMA ain't making no noise. In fact, they are the protection. They're there to help. When disasters happen, they swoop on in to do whatever FEMA does. At this point, I'm not even sure. Do you remember some time ago, at the onset of the first thing? I know for a fact that here in Washington State, FEMA set up a whole horde of these cubicle-looking buildings at a facility in the Seattle area. King 5 had covered it at one point. I'm not sure if the video is still up on their page, but they were calling them pods in case of isolation and if it was needed. Now, remember, they also told you that in that event, they had a solution. There was a way to just keep you isolated for now. And then what if it was a test? What if those pods were a test to see if when they tell you something needs to take place, you would go ahead and do it? What if at the end of all of this, their entire plan is to drop another one of the things, okay, and then tell you the only escape would be to go into these areas where they have pods? Now, in another video, we'll talk about what those pods could be like. And let's just give you a hint. It's something to do with 15 minutes. So now you've given in. You're running from an illness, running from a pandemic, running from whatever, and you go directly to them for help. And they set up these little pods for you to isolate until things pass. And then things never pass. They have you now. Because by all intents and purposes, you gave them the right to isolate you. And as long as they say the reason for isolating you continues, you stay isolated. Now, suppose they say, okay, well, there's no way for you to enter back into the general population. Now, remember, you gave into this. So this is not a matter of law, freedom, constitutional rights. You gave that up. You turn up no longer living, casualty of the illness. No one's going to bat an eye. You gave in. FEMA is not a helpful organization. They're like the Red Cross. They talk a big game and do very little for people. But they do have an agenda under which they accomplish a lot. And that is diminishing the amount of people on Earth by putting them in the exact same space that they say they're rescuing them from. And it's called danger. Fear is one of the most destructive influences you can allow in your life. FEMA knows it. FEMA knows it can feed you fear, and you will run to them for protection from the same thing they issued. If you don't got God now, I suggest you go find him. But don't live in fear. It'll cripple you, and it will give them the upper hand. Fight FEMA. Don't give in.